Hello there guys, and welcome back to Mad Dog Minis. Another Titan update for you. Quite a lot has been going on in between. Now at first glance it may not seem that way, but I can assure you a lot has been going on. So let's dive straight in and get down to the feet. Right, you may remember last video, if you've been following along, that I was a bit concerned about the size of the feet. They were looking a bit undersized for the rest of the Titan. So what I've decided to do is to put some toes on, some big kind of, chunky mechanical toes. And you've probably noticed immediately that what I've used here is just bog standard steel door hinges. They have all been screwed into place because this is all wooden construction at the bottom here, including the toes. That's a little bit of battening. So they're super solid. They're not going anywhere. And what I've done is stuck quite large self-adhesive pearls. They're like got a little gel back on them and they just stick down. They're not kind of spherical. They're kind of like half a sphere, if that makes sense, cut down the middle. So they got a flat bottom and they just stick right on there. I'll probably reinforce with a touch of super glue as well, but they just, to me, they look a bit better than the screws. Otherwise it was looking a bit weird and out of proportion, all of it. I don't mind the occasional screw, but there was loads of them here and it wasn't looking right. So that's what I use there, self-adhesive pearls from the craft shop, super cheap, and you get loads and loads of them in a pack. And they come in different sizes as well, that's kind of what I've done here with some of the riveting smaller ones here. So going back to the toes, I was going to actually put the door hinge underneath and hide it and just use it as a support for the toe. But actually, I sort of had this epiphany. I thought, well, why am I hiding this great kind of mechanism here? It looks great. It looks awesome. It looks the part. So let's just put it on top, screw it straight in, and we've got some, free kind of greebly kind of detail. I'm really super happy with this. I mean, I'm nowhere near finished with the feet yet, but I'm really happy with how the toes come out. The battening that I've used for the actual toe is a little bit thinner in depth wise than the main kind of support, if you will, of the structure of the foot. So what that means is they kind of like settle down at a slight angle, which I also like. It makes it look like this is carrying some weight. I don't know, it just looks better, and that was kind of unintentional really. So that's the toes. Moving up, ruminate parts, not finalized yet, so if you're a bit freaked out by this, don't worry. I mean, I haven't finished any of this anywhere near to what I'm after yet, but this may look a bit funky right now, but I think it's just helped to kind of bulk out the feet a little bit and add some detail to otherwise barren kind of area really. So big ruminate parts just screwed in at the top there, drilled and screwed into the hard plastic furniture lifters, which is the main body of the foot. You probably noticed the cannons as well, the same kind of tube pipe toys that I was using for other kind of projects, other cannons further up top, which we'll get to in a minute. That's Amazon purchase that was. And that's just been, these were produced and then stuck on. This whole kind of section here was produced off of the Titan. Obviously I measured it out and everything and then stuck it on. The pipe toy has been drilled into this backing, which is EPVC. We've got some detailing, little EPVC offcuts here and there. The rivets I've already discussed. Advice for rivets, if you want any advice from me, which you may not, is to always put more in than you think and try and get them evenly spaced. Take your time with it because you're trying to sell something there. I'm by no means a perfectionist when it comes to these things, and this build is not going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but little things like this catch the eye, and if you can just spend a little bit more time on some of these little details, it draws away from some of the sins. I'm just going to leave it there. So let's actually turn this guy around, which is no mean feat because this guy is gaining some serious weight. And I'm doing it one-handed, so so yeah. Right, so back down at the feet. Backplate, I have taken some inspiration from the original artwork. I don't know if that's a John Blanche or not. Maybe, let me know down in the comments. But that kind of iconic Imperator versus the kind of Mega Gargant, the one that was on the, was it on the Titan Legions box way back in the early 90s? I don't know, but you probably know the piece of artwork that I'm referring to. We have this big red Imperator and has big kind of bell-bottom kind of feet, and which are kind of fortresses in their own right, and they've got like steps that kind of form the toes where the troops come out. I took a little bit of inspiration from that. I didn't want to put them on all four corners like in the original, or at least not all four corners, because it's a different shaped foot, wasn't it? But you know what I mean. I didn't want them at the front. I just thought, to me, you know, I just didn't think that was a very sensible thing to have a door at the front. I know these things have got void shields and all the rest of it in the lore, but I needed to be happy with what I was doing, and I wanted them at the back. So we've used rhino doors here, EPVC again. The steps are at a bit of an angle because the whole thing is sloped. These have sloped sides, and I could have faffed around and kind of made them kind of straight on, but I actually kind of like the slope. So the steps come down at a bit of a slope as well, slightly covering the hinge at the back, but that's fine. As I said, rhino doors, what I used here, EPVC offcuts all around, some Lego pieces to, I don't know, simulate kind of armoured kind of, you know, windows or firing ports. And I haven't finished. I'll probably add some rivets and bits and pieces to that as well. Moving on up. This is going to be a bit of a longer video, guys. There's quite a lot to go through. On the back, on the calf area, we've added some pipes. These were out of a toy board game kind of thing, you know, a young kids board game, action board game, I guess. And that was like how the structure was built using these pipes. So I just saved those, saw them into the right kind of lengths, and then we've added kind of pistons at the back on both calves there, and it just helps to kind of, you know, bulk that out a little bit. All right, moving on up, you may notice here that we've got a support at the back of the knee. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. This is a flat steel bracket with pre kind of drilled holes and everything. If I can show you further up, we've got another one here, okay, up at this section. This is new as well, so that's what it looks like underneath there, and that has been bent using heavy pliers just to kind of tease a slight bend in it so it can follow the contours of the knee, and that's screwed in at 4 points, and that just adds a bit of support, a bit of rigidity and strength to the knee, which was really relying on a single, albeit large, screw going up through the wood, and that was just making me a bit nervous because this thing is getting heavy. What is good is the legs are starting to get heavier as well, which means it's a bit more in proportion. It's not getting too top heavy, which might be surprising if you can look at the shape of it, but the legs carry a bit of weight now, which is really where you want the weight if you're going to have weight. So that's the bracket there. I was really happy to get that on. Extra strength, extra, you know, reassurance from me. So let's move on up. So yeah, we've already had a little look at this. I'll put another one on at the back here, just to kind of reinforce the central strut, which is obviously taking all the weight of the torso. You can see here in a bit more detail how those wires have been, you know, that come down and form all this kind of nice kind of greebly detail here. They've just been literally taped around that central column. Okay. As we're at the back, I'll just do a few extra bits here just to show you. The big plasma cannon, I put a box, basically a console controller box that I had. I've chopped it down a little bit to add a back onto this. I'm obviously going to detail that all up, but that just finishes the overall size and shape of that cannon. Over the other side, I've started to box in kind of various bits on the big Gatling cannon around the big ammunition drum here. So I'm a work in progress, but I've started to box that in. All that's going to get covered up, obviously, and we're going to add some nice greebling and detail onto the main body there. Okay, I think that's everything at the rear, so I'm going to turn this guy around. Oh, there we go. Right, so details. Right, let's go to the big huge plasma cannon. So quite a lot's happened here. Lego pieces just super glued on, okay, all the way around. I like that. It just looks good. We've got tank treads, the rubber kind of tank treads from various kind of tank kits and that I had lying around. This was not bought specially. These are bits that I had. Just wrap those around to kind of hide joins and just add some greebly detail. These are from a Chinese construction toy that I got off of Wish ages and ages ago. They clip together, but I just kind of snipped them down a little bit and they just add a nice detail around the barrel, which was looking a bit barren at this end. The plasma coils have been simulated by not corrugated card, which it may look like at first. This is actually plastic drawer liner, okay? Plastic drawer liner. And I got mine from a shop in the UK called Tiger, which sells lots of cheap kind of items. It's targeted at kind of university students, a lot of it. But this drawer liner cost me a couple of quid and I got a great big roll of it. And it's a little bit more durable than the card, the kind of the corrugated paper, and you don't get these divots where you're kind of working with it, which is great if you want to simulate, you know, corrugated iron and things like that, because you want the kind of wear and tear. But on the plasma cores, what a nice clean look. It bends very easily. It's a floppy kind of plastic material. So I just kind of glued that down and built up around it with this EPVC stuff, just to make it look a little bit more inset. In hindsight, I wish I'd not gone so wide with the plasma coil, but I think it's fine for now. So that's that. Moving across, I have actually discussed these little sub-assemblies that I made here, but they've finally been hot glued in place. I may put a supporting screw into the box as well, because you know what I'm like with these things. So both sides there, as that's kind of one secondary armament. So we've got 4 cannons at that level. And these are Age of Sigmar. I don't quite know what kit they're from because I'm not an Age of Sigmar person, but I got them cheap off of eBay. I thought they looked quite gothic-y. So I have kind of been spending a little bit of money here and there on nice little bits. But they just fit really nicely into that area, I think. So that's nice. Moving up again. Another kind of secondary battery here, larger cannons. I do want to kind of thicken up these barrels somehow, so I'm going to get some kind of washer or something to put on the end just to make the barrels look a bit thicker. These weird grey things here, I don't know what they are. I know that they came with a radiator that I bought when I was having some work done at my house, and they came in the packaging to support the radiator. So that's going to be hard to kind of mimic, I guess, unless you get exactly the same radiator as I did. I don't know. But they look nice. They're a bit of greebly detail. They look quite decorative, but also quite industrial. Again, EPVC all the way around, just to kind of add some, you know, detail and try and bring the whole thing back to scale. Little Lego pieces here, the same vents I used on the plasma cannon. It's a work in progress. I've kind of started to box things in as well, hide gaps that were existing here and there. On the arm, look, I put a bit of plastic on it. It's just stuff like this is happening all the time, and I'm probably not going to be able to follow every single little piece, but you're getting the idea. It is definitely getting there now, guys, and it's getting me excited. What I am going to do, I've resolved to the cathedral-like structure on top. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to get as much finished on the main Titan as I can, and I'm going to do the cathedral build as a proper video. So if you'll bear with me on these kind of slightly amateurish, lower quality videos, I'm going to do a proper build video on the cathedral. So hopefully you can look forward to that. And that will kind of be, you know, like a terrain build in itself, as I've mentioned before. So it'd be something that you could, you know, build as just a piece of terrain if you wanted to build something similar. So that's that bit. Moving across to the Gatling cannon, we had some detail here. So these little things, all right, were from another board game, a board game that I found in the attic when I was clearing things out, called Frustration, and they are the moving pieces, the pieces that you move in that game. And they just looked really, really nice as barrels on the end. So I had to kind of fill in the larger barrels here with circular bits of EPVC, which was a bit of a tedious job cutting them to the right size and shape with a craft knife, but wedged those in there, and then these have been super glued on. EPVC sticks really, really well to other plastics, so they're actually really, really solid on there. This end piece is from a multi-mac kind of toy construction kit. All right, so that's going to be hard to source because multi-mac is quite hard to get hold of online these days. Right, so I think that is about it. All right, I'm sorry for the kind of slightly longer video, but there was quite a lot to fit in there. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, is there anything else that I need to cover? And I don't think there is, but as always, let me know if there's something you've seen that you're not kind of not kind of happy about that you kind of missed, or something that I haven't explained, just please ask me. I love answering comments and questions and all the rest of it. So just give us a shout. Also, final thing, you can see that I've screwed these into place as well. So these are solid on here. Oh, I just noticed that. Thanks ever so much, guys. Keep following along. Give it a like if you've enjoyed the content. Consider subscribing if you're not already. And yeah, thanks ever so much for all the support. And I will catch you in a future video. Cheers.